Welcome to the Living a Nordic Life podcast, where we explore a simpler, cosier and more intentional life the Nordic way. I'm Fiona McKenna, your Nordic living guide and founder of Living a Nordic Life, where I share all things Nordic living and show you that a Nordic life is the way to bring intentional calm and healthy habits into your own life, wherever you are in the world. Are you looking for ways to bring simplicity, coziness and calm into your life? Well, let me show you how. Visit the Living a Nordic Life website to explore how I can help you on your journey to simple, healthy and happy calm, the Nordic way. You can subscribe to the podcast right here. And if you want regular inspirational emails sent with love from Norway and straight to your inbox, don't forget to subscribe to the Living a Nordic Life newsletters. And so now let's dive into our episode. Over the winter, I shared a podcast episode about Nordic Christmas markets and a typical day just before Christmas in Norway, and in particular in my favourite little town near me called Kragerø. It was a really popular podcast episode, and I had lots of really lovely messages and emails about how atmospheric it was and how my listeners felt they were walking through the snowy streets with me, enjoying a mug of gløgg, Scandinavian mulled wine, and looking in the windows of the antique shops and gazing at the beautiful crafts for sale. It was exactly what I had wanted to create. A moment of serenity to share the experience with you. So, today we are going to go to the opposite end of the seasonal spectrum. We are going to spend a virtual day together in a Nordic summer. As we come into May in Norway, we start to see much longer days. Even though I've lived here for years, the speed at which the days become longer really still surprises me. It feels like only yesterday that we were closing the curtains and lighting the fire at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now we're lucky if we see any night time at all. And until we reach the height of midsummer on the 21st of June, we see an increase of 5 minutes of light every single day. So that's more than half an hour of more daylight every single week. So you can imagine the difference that it makes. I mean, you feel it. I love the summer mornings in the Nordics. We gradually become accustomed to the early light. It's quiet and peaceful, but light at 3 a.m. You never need a torch. The birds began to quietly sing, and by 5 o'clock in the morning it's completely light, and even blackout curtains can't keep the sunlight out. From my bedroom window, I can look across the fields to the hillsides and down into the meadow below, where all the meadowsweet grows, these tall, white, very fragrant plants that smell a little bit of almonds. And beyond that to a little waterfall, which you can also hear when you open the window. Of course, we have the windows open all the time in the summer. Why would we not? The birch trees on the hill provide perfect shelter for the deer that we have around our little village. And I often open the curtains to see a mother deer and several fawns standing in the field of barley behind my house. Do you know, they never seem to care. They notice, but they never seem to care, and they just carry on grazing. Norwegian summer skies are a pale blue, fading to white, and the pine trees in the distance contrast with that deep green colour. Woodpeckers call from the forest. I get a lot of green woodpeckers. And if we're lucky, we might hear the call of a lynx in the distance. On one occasion, I was woken up at 4:30 a.m. by the most incredible racket outside, screeching and screaming and growling. And I looked out and I found 2 badgers fighting on my patio. They must have wandered in from the field beyond the hedge, and they were really going at it. I went outside because I wanted to get rid of them actually, because they were making a mess in the garden. I wanted to get rid of them, so I went outside with a broom and I tried to poke them both with the handle of a broom. I got quite close, which is probably not the cleverest thing. But they completely ignored me and they just carried on. And then they careered off through the hedge and across the fields into the forest beyond. Early summer mornings for me are perfect to take a cup of coffee outside or a cup of herbal tea and wander around the garden before it gets too warm. My hens, I've got a lot of hens, I've got about 17 hens, are usually awake at dawn, so as soon as it gets light, the hens are up. And in the summer, I don't close their door. They have a really safe enclosure, so I can leave their coop door open, and they're high-rise, so it's quite difficult for predators to get in. They have like some little steps to get up that only hens can use. It gets really hot in their coop, and they do like to get up early. Freddie, my cockerel, likes to get all the ladies out to start eating and scratching at first light, and it's really lovely to be greeted by their eager faces and the promise of some fresh eggs for breakfast. I like to do my vegetable picking early in the summer mornings. So that means getting my trug, the special vegetable collecting trug, which I have in a beautiful wood, and walking around the vegetable garden picking greens and courgettes, lettuces and herbs. It's too early in May for tomatoes, but I do have some in the polytunnel when it's a little bit warmer. We can still get a frost in May, and I never want to risk my delicate plants. I've lost too many, being a little bit ambitious and getting them out first thing in the spring, and then suddenly they get hit by a frost and that's the end of it and I have to start again. But a favourite place for my family to go on a summer's day is a lake or the beach. It's the same for a lot of Norwegians. People gravitate towards water, and many people own boats that they like to take out on warm days. Our favourite place is a lake near us called Trollsvann. It means troll's water. It's a little bit remote and it's a bit of a hike from where you park your car, but it's absolutely worth it. A hike always needs refreshments of some kind, and I make sure to pack some treats into our backpacks. The kids fill their own with towels, swimwear and floaties, and we head off in the car, with the dog of course. You follow the main road through the small villages and the town of Anderbu in Vestfold. You can look that up if you want to. Before turning down a smaller, quieter road that takes you through the deep forest and past some other small lakes. And every lake has its own little swimming place and little parking area, but we particularly like Trollsvann. You pass adorable little farms with green pastures and quaint traditional fencing. Small wooden houses stand beside ancient barns that look like they've been there for hundreds of years. Eventually, the road leads you off down a track for a mile or so before ending at a small car park. If we get there early enough, we're the only ones there, and we own the lake, or at least it feels like you own the lake. It's going to be all ours, well, for a few hours at least. From the car park, a wide gravel path follows the lake for about 1.5 kilometres. The first part of the path is a bit uneventful apart from a weir and a waterfall. But next to the path are wild flowers that kind of spill over, and so many wild strawberries growing in profusion, all at the side of the path, so that the walk can take quite a while because we like to stop and pick and eat. Who doesn't? But suddenly, as you round a bend, there is Trollsvann. Serene, calm, and like a mirror. Just like you would imagine a Nordic lake to be. Not a ripple. Save for the occasional trout jumping out of the water to catch a fly. And the sound of a golden eagle on the breeze, so high up that it's a dot. And you look up to see if you can spot it, even with binoculars. And before you've even got the binoculars focused in, it's gone up into the clouds. At the end of the lake, you can see smooth grass leading down to a little beach. On the grass stands a red and white wooden cabin. There's usually smoke coming from the chimney, and on the air you can smell wood smoke, coffee, and the faint fragrance of cardamom and something baked. Even in the warm summer sun, you want to speed up with the promise of a dip in that lake. It's not possible to get to it from the path because the sides are so steep. But beyond in the distance you can see that there's a beach and it's easy to get down to. Rounding the bend of the path to the grassy area and the cabins, you pass an old metal water pump. It's perfect for filling up water bottles and splashing your face after a hot walk. The water comes straight from the river that feeds into the lake, and it's sparkling and clean and fresh, and you can drink it. The lake looks beautiful from this angle. It's smooth and glassy, and the sides rise up into rocky, wooded hills with steep sides. In the middle of the lake, there's a small wooded island that the ducks and the geese like. It's not possible to get to it without a boat, although I suppose you could swim to it if you were feeling intrepid. But we kind of look longingly and imagine what it's like. But right now we need to find a nice spot to put our bags down and light a fire. Close to the lake on the grass is a stone circle with ashes in it. It's surrounded by rough wooden benches, perfect to set up camp for the day. If you wander around any of these friluftsliv centres, any of these places like this in Norway, you'll find that there are logs piled up ready for those wanting to light a fire. And Trollsvann is no exception. We can grab a few logs and light a fire, ready to get some coffee going and cook a few hot dogs. It takes about half an hour for a good fire to get going, and we want nice red embers, so we can safely light it in the circle of rocks and go and explore a little bit. The cabin is so aesthetic. It's a low-lying wooden cabin with red painted walls and white window frames and door frames, so typically Norwegian and very rustic. The roof is covered in turf, with grass growing on it and wildflowers and the occasional small tree, which probably has to be pulled up at some point. But the door is open and there's an inviting smell coming in from inside. Old wooden furniture and rustic decor beckons us in. And inside, volunteers are cooking waffles and making coffee. How can we refuse? We wander out onto the terrace to gaze at the view of the lake, just a stone's throw from us. It's tranquil and breathtaking. The odd bird lands and you can see an eagle or two above the trees. Other than that, it's all peace and quiet. No sound of traffic, no planes, no sound of civilization or notice of civilization. Perfect for getting away from things for a little bit. It's getting warm though and the lake is cooling. I think it's probably time to take off our shoes and dip our feet in the water. Norwegian lakes are really deep. The water is spotlessly clean, but sometimes it's this unusual light brown colour from the surrounding peat that it flows through before it reaches the lake. But the edges are not cold and full of tiny little fish as well. And that's really refreshing after a hike. My attention is always taken away by the array of flowers that grow around Trollsvann. In the short grass around the cabin and by the edge of the lake, there are harebells, which are little purple flowers, like a bell. Stitchwort, which is tiny little white flowers. And other really pretty little flowers. But close to the water's edge, there are tall purple orchids growing in so much abundance that you would think that they were common. They're not. So, maybe it's time to grill some hot dogs. Hot dogs are the staple of a Norwegian hiking trip. I think we take them everywhere. We certainly do. A sharpened stick can serve as a skewer, and after a few minutes over the fire, they're put into a lomper, which is like a potato pancake, a small potato pancake, about the size of a side plate. And then you roll it up with some ketchup and mustard inside. After that, you can have a quick lunch which is a bit like a Kit Kat, Norwegian Kit Kat, and an orange. No hiking trip is complete without a quick lunch, an orange, and a cup of coffee. It takes a bit of time to slow down, to allow the flow of the river and the calmness of the lake and the quiet of the forest to seep in. But after a few hours, you begin to feel your heart rate slowing down, and you intentionally slow. And you find yourself stopping and just looking around at nature, which is what we should be doing. But let's put the fire out with some water from the lake. We fill our bottles from the water pump and head back to the car. A perfect, simple Nordic summer's day. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the Living a Nordic Life newsletters so you can get an email when I release a new episode. It's a quick and easy way to keep up with all things Nordic living. Please visit livinganordiclife.com. You can listen to Living a Nordic Life on lots of podcast apps, including Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, and plenty of others. If you've enjoyed the Living a Nordic Life podcast, why not leave me a rating? So that's the end of Living a Nordic Life for today, and I look forward to seeing you next time.